Good afternoon, everyone. Thanks for joining us for 316 Fiduciary Outsourcing, Plan Sponsors and Advisors Embrace its Best Practice Trend. I have just a few announcements for those of you who are requesting credit. Please note that to receive CE credit, you must remain logged into the video portion of the webinar for the entire program. Logging into the audio portion only is not sufficient for CE credit. Continuing education credits are being offered for the following designations: CFP, CIMA, CPWA, CIMC, RMA, CPE, and SHRM. At the end of the webinar, we would like to request that all attendees fill out the evaluation form that will pop up on your screen. If you have any questions during the presentation, please submit them through the question box. At the end of the webinar, we'll answer as many questions as we can, but we want to be respectful of your schedule and end on time. If we don't get to your question today, we will follow up with you afterwards. Tomorrow, you'll receive an email with a link to replay today's broadcast. Let's get started. We're joined today by James Jackson, Strategic Channel Relationship Manager at Pentegra. With over 20 years of experience, James focuses on building and strengthening strategic partnerships to deliver meaningful outcomes for our clients, plan sponsors, and participants. James, I would like to now hand things over to you.
Thanks, Maureen. I appreciate it. And welcome, everyone. Happy 316 Day. I'm hoping at the end of this session, you'll be able to identify a couple things. One, know why 316 outsourcing is growing as a best trend. Two, identify who and what entity is a 316 administrator. Understand what an outsourced 316 plan administrator does. Comprehend the advisor role in the process, as I know many of you are on the call today. Identify potential candidates for outsourced 316 plan administrative services. And the last thing is follow a process for prudently selecting and monitoring an outsourced 316 administrator. So, and here you're going to see, outsourcing is the future, and I'm going to go over a couple things here. More plan sponsors are choosing to outsource plan administration. One of the most demanding roles under ERISA is that of the 316 plan administrator. We're responsible for overseeing plan operations, regulatory compliance, and participant communications, among other things. Outsourcing to a 316 fiduciary brings expertise in handling the complex administrative tasks associated with managing a retirement plan, ensuring that plans run smooth. Outsourcing to a 316 fiduciary helps in the following ways. And you'll see some on the screen here, but I'm going to name a few here. Insure against litigation, share the risk, reduce cost, relieve pressure, saves time. As we know, all advisors want to save time along with the clients. Offset the burden of implementing Secure Act 2.0, gain operational efficiencies, tap additional expertise, access to the latest technology and tools that are out there today, and capitalize on the new capabilities that we have. The majority of advisors see 316 outsourcing as the best practice. And there's a couple of reasons for that. Plan management is growing in complexity today. Administrative issues are a leading problem that takes up more time than anything. Optimizing plan performance and improving participant outcomes are our advisors' top goals. Partnering with experienced providers increases our value proposition overall. Now, I know we have a lot of advisors on the call today. So we're hearing advisors are increasingly burdened with administrative responsibilities. Outsourcing to a 316 fiduciary brings expertise in best practices, ensuring accurate and timely execution of administrative duties. This reduces errors, improves operational efficiency, and ultimately leads to a smoother participant experience, as we all want today. Outsourcing at 316 fiduciary responsibilities to a professional provider can be a strategic decision in delivering significant benefits to both you, the advisor, and your clients. By shifting the burdens to a dedicated expert, advisors can help clients mitigate risk associated with non-compliance, penalties, and potential litigation, freeing themselves up to focus on the core competencies and growing the business, as we all want for our clients and ourselves. Now, next, you may ask, what is a 316 plan administrator? I'm going to go over a few of those things now. A 316 administrator, okay? The Employee Retirement Security Act of 1974 through ERISA is a federal law that protects workers and their employment benefits, such as the retirement plan. A 316 refers to the code section on ERISA, which identifies plan administrators as a person or entity responsible for operating the plan in a compliant manner. So let's dig a little bit deeper here. What does the day in the life of a 316 plan administrator really look like? Think of a 316 plan administrator as the COO, Chief Operating Officer, responsible for the day-to-day operations of a business retirement plan. Under the most expensive scenario, a 316 administrator fiduciary accepts all or nearly all the functions of a plan administrator as well as the legal title. A 316 plan administrator is designated by ERISA as the fiduciary responsible for the day-to-day operational of the retirement plans. This duty includes, and I'm going to name a few here because I know that this may resonate with a bunch of you, ensuring timely and accurate filing of a required form such as the 5500, administrating loans and distributions in compliance with plan provisions and retirement plan regulations, providing required participant notices, including the summary plan descriptions and fee disclosures, ensuring contributions are deposited promptly and processed correctly, monitoring compliance with plan documents and regulatory requirements. And let me note something here. Failure to comply and execute these tasks can expose the plan sponsor to significant legal financial risk, including penalties and even lawsuits. Now, as you can see on there's a laundry list of what a 316 administrative functions are. So I'm going to pause here for a second and let you guys take a look at some of these 316 administrator functions. The plan sponsor is typically the employer who establishes the retirement plan and has ultimately responsibility for operations and compliance and regulatory requirements. The plan sponsor is considered the named fiduciary under ERISA and is responsible for overseeing the plan administration. In this role, the plan sponsor can choose to delegate certain responsibilities to other parties. The 316 plan administrator may be designated under the terms of the governed plan document. But if none is selected or designated by the plan sponsor is considered a 316 administrator fiduciary by default under ERISA. It's important to understand the 316 is the fiduciary of the plan. As such, the individual entity is held to the highest level of trust, loyalty, and care. Their actions with respect to their plan will be judged against what we call the prudent person rule, which says that all decisions and acts must be carried out with care, skill, prudence, and diligence of a knowledgeable person. A plan fiduciary must act solely on the best interest of the plan participants and beneficiaries for the exclusive purpose of providing benefits to them under the plan, while paying reasonable expenses, of course. Being a plan fiduciary means this person or entity will be held personally responsible and liable for operating the retirement plan correctly, and again, or face potential penalties.
The polling question should now appear on your screen. This poll will be available for another few seconds for anyone who has yet to select an answer. The poll is now closed, and the correct answer is A, the plan sponsor. James, you may continue.
Thanks, Lizzie. Now, we went over a lot of items about being a plan fiduciary, but let me summarize a few things that we've gone over. First, business owners who sponsor a retirement plan are automatically called fiduciaries. What does that really mean? They're required to operate the plan according to the federal law. They're held to the highest standard of care, which is what we call the prudent person rule. Are personally liable for failing to comply with operations of the plan. Are exposed to penalties for faulty plan management. Now, the DOL can hold plan sponsors personally liable for failing to fulfill these fiduciary obligations to their plan participants. Plan fiduciaries who fail these duties can face costly civil penalties as well, perhaps even jail time. The DOL assumes plan sponsors know what they are doing when it comes to running their plan. And if they don't, they must seek a competent support to be a risk for fiduciary breach. As we move forward, and let me take one step back real quick because I want to make sure I go over this with you real quick. As far as plan sponsors, what do they look at? How do you manage that time and everything else? But this is reality here, guys. And most plan sponsors lack these expertise and time needed to administer all aspects of their plans correctly. Now, and this is one thing we have here is when surveyed, plan sponsors admitted they struggle to understand the scope of their responsibilities today. They find keeping up with legislative changes is next to impossible. About 89% estimated they spend half of their time on retirement plan administrative work that could be outsourced. Many want someone to do it for them. And who do they turn to most frequently to help? Their trusted advisor. And that's you all, many of you on this call. The reality of most sponsors lack the expertise and time to administrate all these plans. But you as the trusted advisors are the #1 person they're going to be seeking guidance to. So let's go to another polling question. Liz, Lauren?
The polling question should now appear on your screen. This poll will be available for another few seconds for anyone who has yet to select an answer. The poll is now closed, and the correct answer is A, true. James, you may continue.
Thanks, Lauren. What is an outsourced 316 plan administrator? The DOL plan sponsors, as soon as plan sponsors know what they're doing when it comes to running their plan. And if they don't, they must seek a competent support system or be at risk of fiduciary breach. That alone is a strong argument of seeking expert help for running a qualified retirement plan. ERISA allows plan sponsors to outsource some of their 316 fiduciary responsibilities by formally appointing another entity to assume some of their plan administrative functions. In situations where plan administrators is outsourced to another, the plan sponsor retains fiduciary responsibility for prudently selecting and monitoring the 316 outsourced solutions. It is important to note that the plan sponsor may never fully eliminate its fiduciary oversight responsibilities for the plan. A 316 administrator, some of their duties can be outsourced to a third party. By utilizing a professional 316 outsourced solutions, not only would plan sponsors be bringing in experts to help run their plans, they would also have more time to focus on areas of their business other than plan administration. In fact, there are many good reasons for plan sponsors to consider hiring a firm that specializes in providing 316 administrative services. And I'm going to name a few that some of the service that includes and what it does. It relieves administrative responsibilities for the business owner and their teams. It reduces risk of liability. It optimizes plan features, improves plan and participant retirement outcomes. That means it's going to give the advisor or whoever's running that plan the more time to be able to grow that plan. And the last thing is, which is the most important, I think, for clients and advisors, it really gives you a peace of mind. An outsourced 316 plan provider is also a co-fiduciary with the plan sponsor and advisor. The plan sponsor can designate certain ERISA 316 administrative responsibilities, including the following as a host, and there's a host of others as well. And I'm going to name a few of what they can do. Required to comply for compliance testing, plan eligibility notifications, approval of participant loans and distributions, and the delivery of required participant notices and disclosures. Now, some of you say, well, how do I select the right 316 provider? The right outsourced 316 provider can do a couple things. They can save you time. They can reduce your workload, minimize risk and liability for you, eliminate complex responsibilities for you, make offering a retirement plan easier. That's the subject. How do we make the lives of our clients and your lives better and easier? Improves plan outcomes. On the other side of that, who's the wrong outsourced 316 provider? It could be one that creates more headaches for you, exposes the plan sponsor for more liability, create frustrations for the plan sponsor, advisor, and plan participants, and compromises the plan outcomes. A growing number of financial organizations in the industry today offer outsourced 316 services, and they're all claiming that they're the best. But I will say, buyer always beware. 316 fiduciary services services are created equal in today's increasingly litigious environment. It is important, and I'll change that word from important to imperative, for plan sponsors to be educated consumers on 316 fiduciary service in order to prudently select the provider that will serve the plan in the best interest of their participants. Lauren, I'll turn it back over to you to another polling question.
The polling question should now appear on your screen. This poll will be available for another few seconds for anyone who has yet to select an answer. The poll is now closed, and the correct answer is C, the service agreement. James, you may continue.
Thanks, Lauren. What does a outsourced 316 plan administrator, who makes sense to be one? There's never enough hours in a day for any kind of business owner or advisor. Large, small, in between, to accomplish everything that demands their attention to keep the business running smoothly and successfully. And while offering retirement benefits is a high priority on many to attract and retain exceptional employees, the day-to-day stresses of a plan administration tend to fall lower on the day-to-day list. And it's a burning issue out there. As plan fiduciaries, subject to personal liability for faulty plan management, plan sponsors cannot let plan operations slip, not once. Professional administrative fiduciaries have the infrastructure and the expertise to handle plans of all sizes. This scalability makes it easier to cater to various plan sizes and needs. And I'll tell you, something we've learned at Pentegra is around plan sizes and understanding the landscape. And as of 316, we're becoming experts at it. And I'll tell you, the partnership that we have with a lot of the advisors, and I know many of you out there, is truly, truly important. We value those partnerships today along with our clients. As we discussed previously, plan administrative responsibilities and numerous and outsourcing 316 fiduciary service is a growing trend. And as you can see here, 54% of plan sponsors that we surveyed reported employing a third-party 316 fiduciary in some capacity today. An outsourced 316 solution can look like this. Reduce business owner and advisors by getting rid of the distractions, the liability, the costs for you, and the frustrations that you have day to day by looking at these functions. Some enhancements to business owners and advisors is focus, better focus on the client and outcomes, and a peace of mind at the end of the day that your plans and your firms that you deal with today are running in a good shape. An outsourced 316 solution reduces sponsor and advisor distractions. You know, we've surveyed, several times, but more than 70% of plan sponsors respondents say finding manageable 316 is hard today. Trying to eliminate the distractions to really focus on their core business was a main issue and problem that they were trying to focus on. Similarly, I would say we just did Pentegra did a study on plan sponsors, found that advisors are increasingly burdened with plan administrative responsibilities. Bringing in an expert to help run the plan allows plan sponsors and advisors to do what you do best. A business owner can focus on other areas of their business. An advisor can focus on optimizing retirement plan outcomes. An outsourced 316 solution reduces liability. If you recall from an earlier discussion as fiduciaries, plan sponsors and their advisors are held to a prudent expert rule. It's a standard for all decisions and actions related to their plans. ERISA mandates if you don't have it, a required expertise, you either learn it or you outsource it to an independent professional. Outsourcing other areas of a plan that requires unique expertise, like investments, to an independent fiduciary is a common practice. Consider that according to Plan Sponsor Council of America survey, 83% of plan sponsors retain independent investment advisors. Either can be known under ERISA as a 338 investment advisor or a 321 investment advisor to assist with fiduciary responsibilities of plan investments. Why not leave the plan administration functions responsible to the experts as well? An outsourced 316 solutions reduces costs. How you might say? Even though outsourced providers charge fees, cost savings are realized in administrative efficiencies and avoidance of penalties. And I'm going to share one case study that demonstrates, improved administration efficiency by engaging in a 316 fiduciary. A plan sponsor had been under DOL audit for 10 long, frustrating, and exhausting months trying to work through a compliance issue related to what appeared to be late contributions. Facing plan, steep penalties, the plan sponsor engaged with an outsourced 316 fiduciary service. Within 4 weeks, the case was brought to resolution with a very favorable outcome to the plan sponsor. That is the power of a 316 administrator today. Another prominent illustration that, how we can share a 316 provider can reduce costs by helping the plan sponsor avoid penalties. And I'm going to read this one to you. A TPA firm recently took over a plan where the sponsor was facing $120,000 in late fee because of their 5,500 filing penalties. The plan sponsor enrolled in in the TPA's 316 overlay services for assistance. With the guidance of the 316 team, the plan sponsor voluntary implemented correction measures outlined in the delinquent filer voluntary correction program that the DOL has completed a submission and paid a much more palatable penalty, which reduced from, as I said earlier, $120,000 in the late form filing down to $750 penalty. That's how a 316 can help. According to a recent Protector study of a plan sponsor, the plan sponsor attitudes towards retirement plan management, some of the leading frustrations voiced by plan sponsors. And I'm going to read a couple because these are really, they'll come to home for a lot of you. Responsibilities that I'm not aware of concern me. Employee participation in education are sources of a stress for me. Dealing with all the employee questions. Finding time to manage administrative responsibilities. Keeping up with legislation and ensuring my plan is compliant. And last, understanding the scope of my responsibility as a plan sponsor. And let me turn this back over to Lauren so we can give another polling question.
The polling question should now appear on your screen. This poll will be open for another few seconds for anyone who has yet to select an answer. This poll is now closed, and the correct answer is D, all of the above. James, you may continue.
Thanks, Laura. I like it that everyone said, all the above. That's great stuff. That's good. That's good. But one of the things that, sometimes struggle, because I see a lot of it, sometimes clients may struggle with is, how do you select a good 316 provider? How do you be prudent in the selection process? Should a plan sponsor decide to engage a 316 plan fiduciary? And how do you do it? The selection process must be carried out in a prudent manner and solely in the interest of the plan participants. There are a number of firms in the industry that offer 316 services, including certain third-party administrators, TPAs, I should say, trust companies, and registered investment advisors, RIAs. But all 316 outsourced providers are not created equal. We'll talk about that. ERISA, as enforced by the Department of Labor, requires plan fiduciaries to follow a prudent objective when hiring or partnering with a plan provider. It is no different when searching for a 316 provider. Again, not all providers are created equally, and you cannot just take them at their word. Look for the proof and choose wisely, I should say. Now, in the next couple of slides, I want to review some key questions you can ask a prospective 316 provider. This is not all-inclusive. This is not an all-inclusive list, I'll tell you. There are many other questions you may want to add and include to make sure that you're making the right selections. But this is a great start to be able to go through the selection process. And this is an important piece because I'm going to read through some of these, as part of the checklist for you. What are the qualifications of a service provider? Does the 316 provider offer multiple 316 service models? How many plan sponsors are participating in the 316 arrangement? What are the sizes of the plan sponsor using the 316 services in terms of participant number and assets? What are the qualifications of the service provider? And you'll see here, years in business, number of credentials and staff, so many testimonials you may have. These are some of the things you may want to seek out for. Does the 316 provider offer multiple 316 models? We talked about that a little bit. How many plan sponsors are participating in the 316 arrangement? What are the sizes of the plan sponsors using the 316 in terms of participant number and assets? What is the market capitalization of the 316 provider? Does the 316 provider have errors and omission coverage? If so, describe the coverage and policy limits. That's important. What is the provider's cybersecurity protocol? Does the provider have cybersecurity liability coverage? If so, describe it, the nature of the coverage, and the policy limits. Are the services delivered in a high quality or just mediocre? And you'll learn this a lot as you're talking to some 316 providers, because they'll give you proof for that. Does the provider have a consistent track record of service? What does the provider's service agreement say? This is where the details really hit, because the service agreement is what's going to drive everything. Has the provider been involved in any litigation within the last 3 years? If so, what is the litigation? What was the outcome? Has the provider had IRS or DOL inquiries in the last 3 years? If so, describe them. And what were the outcomes from those DOL inquiries? Are their fees charged reasonably considering the service provided? Is there any evidence of self-dealing, conflicts of interest, or other improper influence by the service provider? Does the provider offer fiduciary warranty? Now, remember early in the presentation that I said a plan sponsor must never fully eliminate its fiduciary oversight responsibilities for the plan. Not only must they follow the prudent process when selecting the plan services provider, like a 316 outsourced fiduciary, the plan sponsor have the responsibility for ongoing monitoring of the plan providers. For that reason, it's important to revisit service agreements regularly with the plan sponsor to make sure you and provider are on the same page and are getting what you bargained for. Further, is the cost arrangement still reasonable? And a few things you want to be sure about. Periodically review service agreements to ensure agreed upon services are delivered and fees are accurate. Determine whether service standards have been satisfied. Ensure the cost of their arrangement is still reasonable. Document your monitoring process. And I can't stress how important it is for documentation of that. Now, let me summarize a few things, what we've covered. We've covered a lot today around 316 services. How do you select the 316? Who has the fiduciary responsibility of a plan? But let me just put some things together, you know, what we covered today, and that everyone here on this call should really understand. A 316 is a plan's chief operating officer, and the fiduciary responsibility and liabilities are great. Plan sponsors default in this role, but often lack the time and necessary expertise to run their plans. Outsourcing a 316 plan administration services is beneficial and is a growing trend today. And I'll say this because you guys know the Secure Act 2.0, a lot of rules coming down on you, and you have to be able to be governed by that and understand what that means to your plan sponsors. Sponsors look first to their advisors when facing plan administration challenges and compliance risk. That's big. That's big there. You guys on this call, you know your plan sponsor is going to, choose you first. An advisor who partners with a trusted 316 fiduciary provider will see this. Offer a valuable, high-quality service to sponsors, enhance the overall effectiveness of their clients' retirement plans, focus on more strategic advisory services for their clients, meaning outcomes, scale their practices, and lastly, position themselves as a trusted partner in their clients' long-term success. All these things I just said is an important factor of choosing a right 316, running a plan. And one of the things I said earlier is kicking the stress off the advisor. These all come into play, and how a 316 can help you as an advisor, plan sponsor, partner together to be successful in your journey. Now, I know we're going to have some time for questions, so Lauren, let me turn it back over to you real quick. I know we have a few minutes, and I can go over a couple things as well. See if there's any questions out there, and we'll go from there. Lauren?
Yes, thank you, James. We do have a couple of questions here from the audience. The first one is, if a required participant notice or compliance filing is missed, who is legally responsible, the plan sponsor or you as a 316 administrator?
That's a good question. So those notices, at the end of the day, if you've hired a 316, it's the responsibility of that 316. And remember what I said earlier, even though if you hired a 316, you as the plan sponsor who hired that 316 still responsible for making sure that you oversee that 316 and making sure they're doing their responsibilities. You can hire a 316, but like I said earlier, again, not all 316s are the same. What type of service are you going to be getting? I know, at Protego, we pride ourselves on, giving great service as much as we can. So we're going to make sure that every fiduciary responsibility that a plan sponsor has, we are covered for them. Okay, but at the end of the day, if you hired a 316, 316 is responsible. If there's a penalty, that 316 is responsible. They're going to pay that penalty as well. But you as the plan sponsor has to monitor that 316 behaviors to make sure that they're doing the right thing for you and your participants. I hope I answered your question there.
Wonderful, thank you, James. And another question that we received is, how do you coordinate responsibilities between the 316 administrator, the TPA, and the record keeper to ensure nothing falls through the cracks?
Thanks, Lauren. Wow, that's another good one. You guys are coming up with good questions here. Okay. If you hired a 316, it's up to the 316 to coordinate that. With the advisor, with the plan sponsor, with the record keeper, to make sure that you're all on the same page. The buck stops with the 316 at the end of the day, because you've hired them an experienced individual to be able to help you run your plan in a prudent fashion. So it's the 316 who's going to coordinate that between the advisor, the plan sponsor, and the record keeper. And I'll give you a live example today. We do this a lot at Integra. Is we partner a lot with the advisors, making sure the advisors are kept well in the loop of what's going on, and vice versa. So the advisors say, hey, look, James, we have so many things this plan sponsor doesn't understand. Okay, well, let's get on this call and let's explain it to the plan sponsor what we're going to be doing, A, B, C, down the line, while the advisors have more time to talk about their investment structure. So that's a success story to me because of the fact that, hey, we're taking the stress off of the advisor, and the advisor is concentrating on what he's an expert at. The 316 is doing what they need to do as far as the expertise, and the plan sponsor is saying, hey, I've hired the right group because I got an advisor that I've hired that can go over my plan and go over my investments. I have a 316 who's going to be responsible and help me run regulatory compliance items in a fiduciary capacity. And if you don't have an advisor, I would say we'll come in still as a 316 and help you there too. So you don't have to have an advisor. And I know many of you many on the call now are advisors. So we do partner with advisors very closely, but also with plan sponsors that we can work directly with you too as well. Lauren, any other questions out there?
We do not have any other questions right now. So thank you so much for your time today. We do have a couple of minutes left, so I did want to open it up to you just for any closing remarks that you may have before we end.
I started off by saying happy 316 day, and this day's come by fast. I don't know about you guys, but this year's going by really fast for a lot of us. And a lot of regulatory things are coming down the pike in the Secure Act. A lot of things are coming with our plan sponsors. We're hearing a lot of noise out there in the industry. And we're helping navigate that very closely, whether you're with our advisors or with our plan sponsors as well. But I say all that is because of the fact that it's important that whether you're a plan sponsor or you're a plan sponsor that has an advisor, that you stay close to the people who you've hired. And I can't stress that more importantly. You stay close, understand all the regulations, or get an explanation from your advisors or your 316 on what's happening with your plan. Understand what's in your plan document. Understand what's in your summary plan description. Understand what's in your record keeping agreements. That is the piece that really will dictate, hey, is my plan in the right shape? Am I moving forward? It will help you and your advisors partner together to help you build credibility with your institution or wherever you are, to say, hey, we have this retirement plan that is top notch for our organization, that not only will you retain great employees, but long-lasting employees for a lifetime. And at the end of the day, that's what you're here to do, is to make sure that every participant that goes into your plan retires with dignity, retires with a future that they can say, hey, my advisor helped me get there. My 316 played a big part in that as well with my advisor, or my 316 played a big part of that individually as well. But we all came together to service our participants, and we had one thing in mind, is making sure our participants retired with dignity. Now, we'll also end by saying, I know St. Patrick's Day is coming, so happy St. Patrick's Day, everyone, and have a great rest of the week as well. So Lauren, I guess I'll turn it back over and we can close it out there. And if there's any questions at last minute, feel free to, if you want to contact me directly, we can do that as well. My number is out there. You can connect with me on LinkedIn as well if you want. I'm here at Integra Retirement Services as well, so you can find me there. But happy to have this, deeper discussion with anyone who needs it. But we're here to help you and partner with you, whether you're an advisor, plan sponsor, etc. Thank you.
Thank you so much, James. And those were excellent, thorough questions to answers to the questions that our audience have provided for us. So thank you everybody who attended today's webinar. If you have any questions that we did not get to today, we will follow up with you separately. Please take a moment to fill out the evaluation form. It will pop up on your screen, and have a great rest of your day. Thank you.